Okay, hello everyone again. It's me again, Omar, and today we're gonna look at Shadows of Esteren, which is actually quite. I think it's relatively new. It kind of started properly in 2013. I think it's really one of the most promising systems I've seen lately. First of all, because of its setting. You've got a really nice, dark, gritty setting, and it's actually something I haven't seen before. So it's not yet another copy of super heroic adventures, having slaying dragons and stuff. Alright, but let's start with the very basics, and let's start in the beginning. Alright, so if you take a look at table of contents, we can see we've got two main chapters, and thing I should mention actually in the very beginning, that this book is book 0. So it is barely a prologue. This thing costs around 10 quid, $15, something like that. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you want to see whether you actually want to play that system or not, this is the perfect thing you should have. It gives you absolutely everything. It gives you the chapter 1, which is Origins. It tells you a bit about the world. It gives you a brief summary of the system itself, and gives you a few characters which then you can use in chapter 2, which is called Omens, and basically it's just 3 ready-made adventures in which you can try the system out, play with the pre-made characters, and you will be able to get the feel of the game. So I think that is really well done, because some people don't want to spend money because they don't know if they will actually play it or not. And this book, this thing, is basically, that's your answer. That's what you should grab if you just want to try out the system, not sure whether you want to play it or not. So here you go, chapter 1, Origins. Okay, so let's start with the brief introduction of the world, how it's like, how everything looks like. Basically, the whole thing takes place only on 3 Kazel Peninsula, which is really rough land, divided into 3 different kingdoms. You've got Gwydr, you've got Reis, and Talcar. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it well, so you've got to forgive me if I did it wrong, but you get the main idea. So you've got 3 kingdoms, and each one has a slightly different feel, as the whole thing is divided into 3 kind of ways of living. So you've got the whole history in the second book, which I might pretty much review in the upcoming weeks, but for now let's focus on this. So you've got 3 kind of main religions of ways of living, should I say. You've got one which is the original. It was all about the Morthen cult. It's kind of like a druidic kind of thing, where people actually, they believe in nature, they want to do ancient rituals and make spirits happy and things like that. So that would be the general idea. The second one would be the temple of the religion of the one god. Yeah, so we've got the religion of the one god, pretty much, which is very similar to Christianity, and they just go and try to convert everyone to their own religion. And then the last one is Magians, which is not really a religion itself. It's more of a, like, the research kind of society or way of thinking. It's very similar to people who are very focused on science, and they do not believe in anything supernatural. They believe that anything has an explanation, and it's technology through which we can actually develop, rather than belief in some gods which do not exist. So that is their way of thinking. I found it really interesting because the whole setting is kind of like early medieval times, and I thought it was really good to have something like that. And what is interesting about Magians is that they do create a lot of new inventions, and they use something called flux for them. So it's kind of like, petrol, like a gas for them. They make cartridges with them. So, you can imagine you are going as a, let's say, as a Liam, as a scholar, and instead of carrying a torch, you will have like a nice thing with a proper light. You won't really need fire, because you will have your basically lamp, and you will need some flux cartridges which you can get or buy, or if you are good enough you can actually try to get some flux on your own. You can try to mine it, should I say. So yeah, that will be the main idea. You've got three places which you can see over here. It's divided into 3 points. You've got Talcar over here, Guid over here, and Rays over here, and everything to the east, it's called the continent. However, very little is known about the continent, and I found that quite interesting because, you know, you still play in a very small area. However, there is one more, and I think that's the most important and actually the most interesting thing, is the danger. Why this world is so grim, why the world is so dark, why everything in here is so dangerous, is basically the Feondas. These are monsters which you can see over here, hopefully. Well, just give me a second, we'll get it. Yeah, more or less. So these are the monsters that you might or might not really face. Because the thing is, there is a strong belief in supernatural in this world. However, it's not that you've got elves, there's nothing like that. You've got only humans, and all of the supernatural is the mysterious thing that some people claimed to see. So that actually changes a lot, because it's not your typical world where you've got elves, dwarves and things like that. You've got only people over here and weird stuff going on. It's very dark, very grim, and everything is really harsh. So the life in that world is really hard, and I think surviving in that world will be one of the most interesting things actually during the gameplay. The monsters itself, the monsters themselves, the Feondas, Feondas, which apparently comes from the ancient tongue meaning the enemy. They are like monsters which can have so many shapes, so many weird things. They can look like humans, they can look like plants, they can look like animals. So you are never really safe, because you never know when you will meet one of them and when you might actually meet your death. So that's really interesting in this as well. So we've got the main thing over here. Now let's slowly move on to the mechanics and the system itself. So, talking about the system itself, it uses D10 and it's fairly straightforward. Whenever you have a fight, you just roll D10, there's some pluses, minuses, some modificators, bam, you're done, you know what's going on. The thing is, the game is focused on storytelling, not the dice rolling itself. So I'm really happy with that, because I'm more of a role-playing, for the role-playing sake, not just like making a superb character in D&D when I just roll a die or just like kill everyone without even rolling a single die. That's not my thing. So I play role-playing games, so I can actually role-play a bit. So that's the thing. It's interesting because you do not have the typical like strength, agility and stuff. You've got ways. So you've got way of combativeness, which basically tells you how good you are in all physical kind of fighting related stuff. You've got way of creativity, so you know how imaginative you are, how skilled you are with your hands, your crafts and things like that. Then way of empathy, the bond linking you and all the world pretty much. How do you talk with other people, how do you interact with them, whether you care for them or do you hate them. Way of reason, obviously it's all about rationale and intelligence and intellect. And last one is the way of conviction, how strong you try to pursue your ideals. And then you've got 16 domains, and each one is then divided into specific specializations. So you can have like 1 or 2 points in one domain, or you can have up to 15. But 15 means you're basically like the best person in the world in doing that thing. So it's going to be really hard to achieve. What I like is that it does not focus on being the superb hero, because every single thing, if you are good at something, it will also give you some negative aspects. So if your way of combativeness is 5 and you are really good with fighting, it might mean that you are short-tempered, and instead of actually trying and talking with someone, you'll just grab your sword and bash him in the head. So there is never one good thing. There is nothing absolutely perfect in that world. Whenever there is something good, there will be some negativity to it. So I really like that. The game itself is quite straightforward, like I said, combat is quite easy, but then that's something which made me so happy, and I think that might be one of the best things about the game, is actually the sanity system. as the game is supposed to be horror, so it's very strongly based on things like on movies like Shining or books like Name of the Rose. So it puts lots of thought and effort into what goes in the head of your character. So whenever you make a character, you actually have to choose some good things about your character. So you might say, yes, I want to be really empathical, I like helping people, but because of that at the same time, you might be, very easy to lie to, and maybe people will just use you for their own convenience because they know you will help them because you want to help everyone. So there is, like I said, similarly like to the combat example, whenever there is something good, there will be also the negative side of it. So there's nothing absolutely good in that game. And each character has to choose certain mental disorder in the beginning. So you will have some problems with your head. For example, in here, you've got Ildian. She's a Varigal. She's kind of like a, let's say, wanderer. She's a guide throughout the harsh lands over there, and she helps people to travel all around the places. So she's very intuitive, but at the same time, she's also very impulsive. So she's one of these people who will just grab the sword and bash someone in the head rather than try to speak. And also, you've got Ian, Archer. So for example, he's very preserving, but because of that, at the same time, he's unreliable. Because he might be like, I don't care, I'm not doing anything I want. And one of his latent disorders is paranoia. What I absolutely adore about that game system is that you don't really know what is your sanity level. So it's only for the game master to keep track of that. And then he can just basically play with your head as a player and as a character at the same time. So let's say I will become paranoid, and my GM will tell me, alright, this is your turn, yeah, remember you're paranoid, so you see things which don't happen or you panic a lot. That's not the thing. He will keep telling me, alright, now you feel followed, you think that someone's following you, you think that someone or something is watching you. So he will keep telling me things like that. So me as a player and as a character will actually start thinking in that way that, he will, kind of prompt me to become paranoid itself. So that's really good. Then we've got chapter 2, Omens, which are 3 stories. However, I'm not going to cover them too much because I did not read them. As I do not intend to be a game master, I want to be a player in that system. So yes, let's just leave the right dice for it. Shadows of Esteren, here you go. Very nice. So that will be the overall of the game and game system itself. And I guess we can come to an end. Okay, the thing is I cannot give this game a mark yet because I did not play it, and I hope I will be playing the Shadows of Esteren possibly this weekend, and then I might do another video on book 1 which gives you much more detail. But for now I really want to just try it out and just get into it and see how it plays. So I'm really happy to see how the game works and how everything actually looks when you do play it. However, so far it looks very promising, and if you are looking for a new system which connects ancient rituals, occultism, some kind of like steampunkish Magian stuff, because if you look over here, you've got the Magiantists using basically a submarine. So you can see over there, unless perhaps you want to be a barbarian or whatever. So the world itself is really rich, and at the moment I'm reading the first book, which is like the big book, not the prologue one. The first book, which is called Universe, which describes everything from the perspective of the people living in that world, which is this one exactly over here. So yeah, but let's go back because I'm going too far as always. Shadows of Esteren, really promising if you want to something new, if you want some low fantasy, some really grim, gritty, dark horror world when everything can actually kill you, and your biggest enemy will not actually be the monsters, will possibly be people, because we are bastards in our nature. So definitely grab one copy of this book, grab just Prologue, it's going to be around £10, and I would say that even if you're not going to play that much, £10 just for this booklet in here, for this book, getting all the brief information about the world and all the rest about the game mechanics, and 3 missions which you can actually play with pre-made characters, it will give you a really good idea on how the game plays. So based on this thing, not playing yet, I would be torn between 8 or 10 possibly. So I will be somewhere over here. 8, 10, possibly 9ish over there. And I'm not going to say it's perfect because I haven't played it yet, that's the problem, but it definitely looks very promising. And if you want to try something new, Shadow of Esteren might be something for you, so definitely give it a look, read some more. And interestingly, I've just got it from the back of my head. Interestingly, they actually made the soundtrack, so if you go to a website you can buy a full CD with 13 or 12 or 13 tracks, which is specially made for that game, so you will get the feel of that game much better. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. Feel free to subscribe and come back, as I will try to update some new videos a bit more often now. Take care and thanks for watching.